We'd like to welcome everyone tonight to this special County Commission special public meeting. This is November 20th, 2019. Would you all please arise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'd remind everyone tonight that there is overflow down in the courtroom downstairs. If you need directions, there's folks that can direct you. Today we're here to have a public hearing on the proposal or proposed increase to Carbon County Municipal Service Fund certified tax rate. And item number 2 is a public hearing on Carbon County 2020 budget. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to our meeting tonight. The first item on the agenda for this meeting is to receive input from the public with respects to a possible increase of the Municipal Service Fund tax rate, and to receive input with respects to the 2020 budget. You are welcome to comment on either or both the tax increase and the 2020 budget. No decision will be made on either the budget or the tax increase this evening. We welcome your comments and pledge to carefully consider them in weighing our decision regarding a possible tax increase. We appreciate your concern and commitment to the well-being of our county. We are pleased to see a large crowd here tonight. Because of the large number of people who are here tonight, we wish to establish a few ground rules to ensure that the meeting proceeds in an orderly manner. First, it's important that we keep doorways, walkways clear to comply with the fire code. If anyone needs overflow seating, it's available in the Justice Court downstairs, where there's also a live video feed. Next, if you wish to provide a comment on either the proposed tax increase or the 2020 budget, you need to sign in at the table down at the bottom of the stairs on the first floor. We will call on persons to speak in the order they have signed in. When your name is called, please come to the podium. You must state your name clearly and audibly into the microphone before making comments. The Commission will not take comments from the audience at large. If you haven't had a chance to sign in yet, please sign in at the table at the bottom of the stairs. We will require that each person limit his or her comments to 2 minutes. If you are here as part of an organization or group, we would ask, if at all possible, that you designate one person or spokesperson to represent your group. Please tell us the names of all the persons present from your group for whom you are speaking. We will take additional testimony and evidence from other members of your group as time allows. Please note that the statute indicates that the County Commission shall provide an interested party desiring to be heard an opportunity to present oral testimony. With these 2 caveats, it needs to be within reasonable time limits and without unreasonable restriction on the number of individuals allowed to make public comment. We want to emphasize that the statute allows us to place a restriction on the number of individuals allowed to comment, as long as this restriction is reasonable. It is our intention to let as many persons as possible speak tonight. But you should be aware that there may come a point where we will need to restrict the number of persons we hear from. If you wish to present comments that are similar to those of persons who have already spoken, please keep your comments brief or simply indicate that you agree with or are in support of the testimony given by such and such a person. If your comments are not specifically tailored to the purpose of this meeting, we may direct you to focus your comments or may ask you to yield the floor to the next speaker. In order to allow as many persons as possible to speak tonight, we will most likely reserve answering your questions until after the public hearing. In an attempt to answer some of the most frequently heard questions that we have received to this point, and to provide some general background, we would first like to present some information prior to the opening of the public hearing. As you are aware, it has been proposed that the municipal service tax rate be increased by 733%, which for residents living in Carbon County would result in an increase of 16.92% to the annual property tax bill of a county resident. This is the only portion of your taxes for which the increase is proposed. The proposed tax increase will not affect residents of Price City, Helper City, Wellington City, East Carbon City, or Schofield Town. It will only affect residents of the unincorporated portions of the county. We anticipate that this tax increase will result in an additional $2.2 million for the Municipal Service Fund. And I would like to ask our Attorney Christian Briner to take a few minutes and give us some more instruction.
Thanks, Commissioners. I wanted to have an opportunity to make a few comments on what the municipal tax fund is. Chapter 34 of the Utah Code allows counties to provide, quote, municipal type services to areas of the county outside the limits of cities and towns without providing the same services to cities or towns, and to fund those services by levying a tax on taxable property in the county outside limits of cities and towns. So, in essence, these are services that are provided primarily to benefit persons living in the unincorporated parts of the county or businesses operating in the county. Because of this, they are paid for by taxes levied exclusively on county residents and county businesses only. This is why residents of the cities are not included in the municipal fund tax and would not be affected by an increase to the municipal services fund tax. Some of the specific municipal type services that are specifically authorized by statute to be funded by the municipal fund tax include fire protection, waste and garbage collection, the funding of the Planning and Zoning Department, street lighting, animal control services, storm drains, traffic engineering, code enforcement, business licensing, and building permits and inspections. The statute also includes a catch-all phrase that states that all other services and functions that are required to be accounted for from a municipal services fund may be paid for by the municipal services fund. It's important to know that the Municipal Services Fund tax revenue is not shared with the school district or with other governmental entities. For your information, in 2010, an audit of Carbon County's Municipal Services Fund was performed by the Office of the Legislative Auditor General, which looked at Carbon County's uses of the Municipal Services Fund. At that time, the fund was used to pay for the sheriff's office as well as for road maintenance, emergency services, animal control, building inspection, planning and zoning, and public lands. The audit report specifically noted that, quote, the services listed are all statutorily allowed. So in other words, the services that are typically thought of being provided by cities and towns may also be provided by a county, and those services are to be paid for with the municipal services fund tax. So we wanted to emphasize to you what this tax is used for, what this fund is used for. It should be noted that the sheriff's, it's proposed that the sheriff's office would be funded with this tax once again. Thanks, Commissioners.
Thank you, Christian. As you are aware, the total increase in the tax bill to a resident of Carbon County is an increase of 16.92%. Thus, someone who pays $500 in property taxes each year would experience an increase in $84.60. Someone who pays $1,000 in taxes each year would experience an increase of $169.20. Someone who pays $1,500 in property taxes each year would experience an increase of $253.80. Someone who pays $2,000 in property tax each year would experience a total increase of $338.40. This increase means that people residing in the county will now be paying nearly the same amount for the municipal services that the people in the cities will be paying. Hopefully, this gives you a sense of some of what kind of burden the taxpayers will be asked to carry. There are several other items regarding the tax increase we would like you to consider. I'll turn the time over to Commissioner Hopes.
Thanks, Commissioner Jensen. The first thing we asked ourselves, and that's been a question, is this increase needed? And so there's some things that we want to help people understand. And perhaps not everybody is aware, but a large portion of the county's budget, including the Municipal Services Fund, was previously supplemented with money received from coal and gas royalties that were paid to our Special Service District, and which were then paid to the county. Those funds have decreased tremendously since 2008. Additionally, state laws have cut into our revenue streams that go directly to the county. As our revenues decrease, our expenses have increased. Everything since that time has become more expensive. Vehicles, which are bought in various county departments, have become more expensive. Office supplies have become more expensive. Road maintenance materials have become more expensive. One example is our fire service contract with our local cities who provide fire support to those who live in the county. It increased by $30,000 in 2017, by $12,500 in 2019, and by another $12,500 this year, and is set to increase by another $12,500 next year. In 2 years, it will increase. In 2 years, it will increase by $50,000, and in 3 years, by another $70,000. Those were agreements with the cities to try and help fund the fire departments that were struggling. Carbon County has not deliberately sought to raise taxes since 2003. Further, the Municipal Services Fund has never had a tax raise since it was established in 1986. I almost said 1986. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Price Index, today's price in 2019 are 39.86% higher than average prices throughout 2003. In other words, it takes about $140 to buy what you used to buy for $100. Commissioner Martinez.
Thanks, Commissioner. Ladies and gentlemen, we want you to know that the county has done everything possible it can do to provide the same amount of service while trimming costs. 2 years ago, the county laid off 13 employees to avoid a tax increase. This fall, we as commissioners met with each of our department heads and asked them to do all they can do to reduce their expenses even further. We feel that our department heads have done all they can do to reduce their expenses without risking them being unable to perform statutory mandated services, which are not optional, or to provide the level of service that the county residents have come to expect. We would like you to know that this budget does not provide for any raises or for any county employees. Does not provide for the cost of living increase. Several years ago, the county began to require county employees to pay a portion of their health insurance, and they continue to do so today under this budget. We are not at the point where we cannot continue providing services at the same level unless additional revenues are brought into the county. The only option at this point is to stop providing certain services. or to stop providing them at the same level they have been provided historically. But we want the public to know that raising taxes isn't the only thing that Carbon is trying to do. We've also began to take steps to divest ourselves of properties that we no longer need. The county has also raised building permit fees to help them be in line with other counties and cities are charging. The public should know that much has been done and is being done by many in the community to see that our economic growth continues. For example, the Economic Council, which is a coalition of local business leaders, city officials, county employees, has done much to promote Carbon County and to attract and publicize business investments here in our community. Recently, Intermountain Electronics made the commitment to expand its business here in town, and will be adding many new jobs. SME Steel, the Price River Terminal, are some of the newer businesses who are new and significant contributors to our tax base. We have many other businesses that are slated to come online soon. For all of the efforts that you as a community make to welcome and support these new businesses, and to these new businesses as well, we thank you.
As we begin to review the budget, we would like you to consider that our budget has remained more or less the same as the past year. We are not raising taxes to increase our budget. We are increasing taxes to maintain our revenues at more or less than they have been over the past several years. Even with this tax increase, the county will require an additional $800,000 to meet the budget requirements. And will ask the Special Service District to provide $400,000 of that from its own reserves. So we have a few slides tonight. Can we adjust the lights somehow so they can see that? Hopefully you can see that. So Seth, would you like to go through that list with us? Seth's our county clerk and auditor.
Sure. So this slide shows our different fund names, as well as our 2019 budget for each fund, and then our 2020 proposed budget for each fund. This should allow us to compare the two and how they differ a little bit. As you mentioned, there's a lot of similarities from year over year, but as you can see in the general fund, it's gone from 16.1 million to 14.4, and this is mainly due to the sheriff's office, has been discussed, being moved to the municipal services fund, as well as our dispatch services, which totaled about 160,000 in previous years. Both of those were moved to the municipal services fund. You can see the Carbon County Travel Bureau, we've decreased their budget to $603,000. Carbon Leisure Services, which is Carbon Rec, is much the same. Some of their increases due to our increase in health benefits. The Municipal Services Fund, you can see, as noted previously, the change there. The increase is mainly due to the Sheriff's Office change and the dispatch services change. It's also good to note that in the Municipal Services Fund, we've increased Daniel Campbell's budget, the road shop, by about $600,000, and in an effort to help with some of our roads that are failing or need a little bit of work. And much of that increase there is budgeted to be covered by our B&C Roads PTIF, with our restricted funds there that we have from previous years. It's kind of an effort to use those to help us in future years. You can see the Carbon County RDA stays the same. The senior center is much the same, as well as the nutrition program out there. Carbon County Fairgrounds is much the same at $564,000. There's a change here with our Carbon County Future, which is our economic development. We received a grant in 2019, the Brownfields grant, to help us clean up some of our properties that needed help, whether it be because of chemicals or other waste, hazardous waste, or things of that type. Our 911 emergency telephone stays the same. Our Carbon County Airport, you can see there's a large decrease there. That's mainly due to this year we had a large remodel out there to make room for the USU aviation program out there, which will be a significant help to us in the future, as well as there was some state grant money that we received to resurface one of our runways. So there's the big decrease there, things that we don't have planned for 2020 that we had in 2019. Capital Projects Fund has been trimmed down quite a bit, and honestly about $3 million of what we have budgeted for 2019 is due to our EWP project, emergency watershed protection, and that's all funded by federal grants with a little bit of in-kind from the county. That'll be ending in 2019, thus the decrease there in that fund. The county court complex is mainly what we have as our old court complex. At this point, the large decrease there, that includes the old and new, forgive me. So the big decrease there is a difference in utilities and maintenance that will change as we get rid of the old courthouse, as well as now that we've had the new courthouse for a year, we have a better grasp on what they'll need as maintenance costs and utility costs, so thus the decrease there. Finally, our county building authority, which includes most of our debt payments, and the large decrease there is due to our Hilltop Road project that we did this year. We had budgeted $800,000 in 2019 for that project, and obviously it's been finished, so it's not something we're budgeting for in 2020. Just a few other things to mention. I think it's been discussed in previous commission meetings. We did have a increase in our insurance premiums in the order of $140,000. So that's part of what you see as small increases in different departments and in different funds here on the spreadsheet. I think that's about all I had. There was one other question I think we received from a lot of residents as far as some of the permanent employee budgets for different departments. There's, as discussed, there's been no increase to salaries for anyone at the county, but in previous years, in 2019 included, we trend a little higher than what we've budgeted for, so we wanted to get a real accurate look at what's being used for different departments' wages. So in an effort to clean that up and make it more accurate, there was some small increases in the order of $1,000 to $2,000 in several departments, just to ensure that we weren't going over their budgets for their permanent salaries. So that's all I had.
Thank you, Seth. Now, Barry, if you'd go through the next, we got a few slides here. We want you to look at this pie, which would show each of you as you pay taxes. There's portions of your tax that are split out to different areas. For instance, the blue is the general fund, the tax that comes directly to Carbon County for our operations. The red, a large portion of that is money that goes to the school district. The green is the fees that are charged to each of us for the assessing and collecting that the county has to do. We have a water conservancy district that takes care of Schofield Dam and some other things, so there's a slice of the money goes to that district. Then we have a basic school, a state school amount that goes to the state for school things, and also you'll see there a state charter school in the light blue. Those fees go to the state. The Price River Water Improvement District, who takes care of our water sewer, is a slice of that. And then the county municipal fund currently, that's the portion, is that right? Is that currently this year? Okay, so that is this year's. So you can see that the fund that we're talking about raising is a small part of the whole tax that comes to us. And you all received your tax notices, and if we compare those, I think this is pretty simple. There's an increase to, on the right-hand side there, from $28.82 to $240. Okay, next slide. This one may give you a little idea. Currently, on the left in blue is the amount of dollars that the county tax for municipal services currently is receiving.
Those are rates.
Rates, I'm sorry. And next to it is Price City, and then Helper, Wellington, East Carbon, and Schofield. And you can see that the amounts that each of those cities pay is much higher than the county presently. On the right in red would show where the county would end up, just slightly above Price City's amount. Helper, Wellington, East Carbon, Schofield's about the same, but those others are quite high. So the Fund 10 and 20 expenses, those are where the bulk of the taxes that are collected and the money is spent over the course of 8 to 9 years there. You can see that our expenses in 2010, they went up in 2011, down in 2012, up in 13, down in 14, and then back up through 16, and now as we go into 2018 and into 2019, we're continually dropping in the amount of money the county is spending. Now, when the mineral lease money was available, more money was spent, so that's why you see these highs and lows and the larger amounts of money than we see today. Okay, I think the last slide. So the red line on the top is the same red line we just looked at, but down on the bottom, this shows you in 2008, the mineral lease money that was brought into the county was over $10 million. It dropped in 2009, went back up in 2010 and 11, 12 it dropped. It went up again in 13, down in 14, and you can see from there it's dropping and dropping. And here in 2019, it's estimated today that the total income from mineral lease money to the county will be $1,500,000. As we open the public hearing, we would note that for the record that we have received letters from the following: Eugene DeClaudio, Elmers, Dale and Carrie Green, Alan Chenworth, Sam Brown, Mel Coonrod, Wayne Franson, Debbie Emmett, and some of those came in the form of email, some were mailed, we had some hand-delivered, but all of those people were in opposition to the tax increase. We have received multiple phone calls here at the office and personally. The three of us, commissioners, as well as Seth and the clerk auditor's office, have received multiple phone calls answering questions about the tax increase. We have been approached by many residents, some who have come here and wanted to talk, and we have spent time with all who have asked to come. We also have run into many people in public settings where they have asked questions, And we've found that a majority of those people who approach us in that way and ask questions after some explanation, they have indicated that they're unhappy with the tax increase, but they understand, and they're not willing to have services cut. We will now open the public hearing on the proposed tax increase and on the 2020 budget. So, as we call your name, we would like for you to come forward and again state your name clearly and audibly. You're going to have to get close to the mic to make that work, and we would like to call you up in 4 or 5 at a time so that there's no time wasted waiting for someone to come up. So in this order, we would like you to come forward. Nanette Ariotti, Rick Sestrand, Stacy Kosmak, Jean Villa, and Alice Gross. And we'll remind you that each of you have 2 minutes. There is a screen here that you'll be able to see. So go ahead.
Hi, my name is Nanette Ariotti, and I have a question for the commissioners. Are you aware of the recent report of the State of Utah Rural Economic Development that has just recently been published?
Ms. Ariotti?
Yes?
It's my just a minute. It's my recommendation to the commissioners that they reserve answering all questions until after the public hearing. So
Okay.
the point of the public hearing is for the public to say what the public would like to say.
Okay.
And then the commissioners can respond as they want after the comments have been made. Now, commissioners, if you feel like you want to respond, certainly welcome to, but my recommendation is that the public simply proceed and then you answer those questions afterwards.
All right. In their report, it states that their current status says they're giving state attention and intention to address the declining economy for Carbon, Emery, Duchesne, Grand, and San Juan counties. The report states that we have Utah State University and K through 12 schools has seen drastic enrollment declines. Families are leaving their communities in search of jobs. And in fact, the population rates from 2010 to 2016 show a negative 0.81 growth rate. We have lost 44% of our mining jobs, which is also, well, anyway. The state reports that that Carbon County has seen a noticeable decline in building permits, construction, total taxable sales, roads and highways, education, overall economic output, and a decline in quality of life. As you can see, your request for an increase of any kind does not reflect our current economic status. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Rick Seastrand. I'm from Salt Lake County. I've been paying Carbon County taxes for the last 20 years, and in the last 9 years, they've gone up every year except for 3. And last year was a $548 increase. This is a secondary house. 28 by 40, little tiny cabin, and now you propose to raise it again another 8%, 7%, something like that. I feel like I've been taxed to death by Carbon County, and I don't have any services provided. There's nothing that I'm offered. Police service, I have to do my own water, roads, all of that. So I don't get any benefit from any of this, just the taxes. So I think we could probably delegate something a little different. I've been told that I'm rich and that I can afford it by people here, but I don't think I can. So I don't think it's fair that I'm hit harder than most. So yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you.
So my name is Gene Villa, and I'm here to oppose the tax rate increase. I understand some of it is necessary, but I stood here at this meeting the last time they had it, and Mr. Hoops was here. He's the only one, you two are new. One lady stood here and said if it goes up anymore, she would lose her home. And she probably will, because I know she can't afford this. A lot of seniors, we've got some things like senior citizens, we've got animal control. The fairgrounds looks like they're healthy. And I'm wondering, why are we putting all this money out to something that everybody don't use? And in the county, if we go with something like this, then shouldn't I have streets, lights, curb and gutter, and sweeper trucks going up and down? No. We've had fire service from Helper Price for years. And if we have to afford, we have to pay for a little bit more, then I understand that. But this is, I've lived here all my life, like I said, and I've never ever seen anything like this tax hike since I've been here. And so I think I would like to see if you guys would reconsider somewhere and bring it down towards affordable. I don't think the county should pay more than Price City, where all of the, you know, your services are available here. So that's all I need to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me stop you, Alice. We need to have Jay Briner, Bob Tanner, John Jacobson, and Sam Brown come forward.
Did we miss Stacy Cosman?
Stacy Kosmak didn't come up. So Stacy, you're next. I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Stacy Kosmak. Am I able to yield my time to someone else?
Yes.
Ms. Lupo?
We'll add her in here in a minute, okay? Okay, Alice, you're up.
My name's Alice Gross. I have lived in Kenilworth for 28 years. Before that, I was in Dragerton, which became East Carbon in 1973 when they were incorporated. I started paying property taxes in 1980 when my mother died. I've paid every year since she died, whether it was East Carbon or in Kenilworth. My property taxes, from what I was told by a tax consultant price that I talked to, will be a little over 800%. It will not be 733. He worked it out, and he said it would go from 140, because I have a rundown house worth $10,000, to 550, and I can't pay that. You're going to tax me out of existence. I will lose my house. I will have nothing. I will be living on the street. I wish you would reconsider, because I have nowhere to go. I'm 63 years old. I'm disabled. I can't work. And you're going to tax me out to the street. I can't afford it. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Thank you, Alice.
Thank you.
Jay Briner. We are part of the unincorporated areas up in the Schofield area. And looking back for the past 15 years, the municipal service fund taxes have gone up from $217,000 to $300,000. And then this year, the proposal is, as you mentioned earlier, 733%. But I, like Alice, I must be special, because mine is 833% increase. And one thing about this municipal tax is there is no, this levy, there is no cap on it. So by enforcing this big increase this year, my taxes went on this particular fund, went from $341 to $2,847. So this means that if next year you decided you wanted to increase, my taxes next year would be $23,000 in this particular municipal fund. I think it's inappropriate, and I've never seen anybody's taxes ever go up 833%. But the main thing that bothers me is there's no cap on this. There's no stopping what you might do into the future. It seems that we have been kind of picked on up in the Schofield area this year with our taxes going up. We've had greenbelt problems, and then, of course, this tax. So our bills have practically doubled in the tax area. So that's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
My name is Bob Tanner, and I'd like to thank Alice for what she said. The only difference between Alice and me, really, is she's in her 60s and I'm 80. Otherwise, things are pretty much the same. I heard you talk about we are trying to bring new businesses and new sources of revenue into the county. That's a good way to go. That's a lot better way to go than to raise taxes on people. Because right now, we know for sure that the mineral taxes and the oil taxes are continuing. They're almost nothing now, and they're going to get worse. They're not going to get better. And so it appears to me that since that well has run dry, that you're trying to use all of us in here as water in the well to fill the gap for the mineral losses. And we can't do that. That's not our fault that the minerals in that have depleted or are not needed anymore. It's just simply something that we have to face. And when I have my budget decrease, and when my insurance goes up, I have to cut back wherever I can. And I have to get down to where I make a list of what I have to have versus what I'd like to have. And the list of what I'd like to have hardly ever gets filled. And I would like to know what the commissioners feel that they could do personally to cut back themselves. I don't know if you can cut back on your salaries. I don't know if you can cut back on your health insurance. But you're expecting us to do it, but you're not willing. And I'd like to, in closing, I'd like to see if we could get a blue ribbon committee together to replace county commissioners with a county council and not have commissioners anymore, because we have trouble with the commissioners every single year, and it's time to stop. And my last comment is, when will this cap out? When will you feel like you've taken all the money you can from us and we just can't take any more, and you just keep on asking for more? Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is John Jacobson. I'm not a great orator. I had a lot of things that I wanted to say, but I won't remember all of them. I actually should have been taking notes, but I didn't bring a pen. I have a main point that I would like to say, and that is that one of the justifications that you gave, without any real, justification exactly what those numbers were, saying what those numbers were, is that we need to pay the same amount of money as some of the other cities that are around. Quite frankly, I don't see it that way. And I think most of my neighbors agree that if we need a tax increase, where? Not just we need this money. We're not saying where we're going to spend it exactly or why it's got to be increased or what we have already. We're just saying we're going to increase it by $20 million. Is that right? So one of the other things I wanted to say was I voted for Tony and Larry here on the last election to stand on this committee, because one of the things that they said that they wanted to do is bring jobs. to this area to increase the tax base, to help out the community. Why don't we talk about that? Why don't I see anything where we're trying to improve that tax base? Instead, we're just trying to bleed each one of us. One of the reasons we live in the county is because we love to live here. We love being here, and we like the low cost of being able to afford to live here. I actually travel outside of the county to work because there's not jobs here that will pay me what I need to make. That's pretty much what I had to say. I do agree exactly with the gentleman that spoke just before me. I think he said it a whole lot better than I did. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to call up Ed Rayot, Chris Chittister, Bernie Morris, and Deborah Scoville. Okay, Sam, go ahead.
I'm Sam Brown. Good afternoon, Commissioner. As I've studied these issues and whatnot, there's been a few things that's jumped out and grabbed me. First, as Mr. Jacobson said, a lot of our justification is we haven't paid what other towns and whatnot have paid. We don't get the services that they pay, that they get by paying more. I think as I read the budget, I didn't see a across-the-board budget cut anywhere. You guys don't understand. We're out of money. We don't have money in our county. We need to drop what we have to compensate. You can't ask people to pay 800%. We're in the middle of a budget cut or crisis, and we're trying to get it worked out. But you can go to St. George for a week. What's going on? We need to study the facts. We need to cut the budget, and we need to bring things in line. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Ed Ritt, first of all, I'd like to address the proper role of government. Government needs to do what only it can do. What the private sector can do, government has no business doing. We have a golf course, we have a rifle range, we have buildings we're renting out. We need to eliminate that. That's a good place to start. Every time I talk to commissioners about that, they said, well, that was here before we got here. That's not really an excuse. If the properties are liabilities, get rid of the liabilities. If they're assets, they're valuable and can be sold. And the second thing is, government's always expanding and doing good. That's not the proper role of government, to do good. You can't do good. If you want to do it, go into the church, use your own money, and do good. We have a bus that goes around and picks people up. I was the head trustee in a church. We used to do that. Poor people. We didn't charge them. The county didn't pay anything. They needed to go to the hospitals. We took them. It gave people in our church group an opportunity to meet new friends, and the church was part of the community. By you taking that over, you're depriving people of that opportunity, and you're costing the taxpayers at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
My name is Chris Chittister. I also represent Schofield Mountain Estates as the president of the HOA there. Okay. I had a big speech written, but here I stand in a beautiful building in an impoverished county asking for 833% increase that they're calling 733%. I'd like to know who does the math here, because I believe it's 833%. I also asked myself in Schofield, Utah, where I'm trying to build a cabin, what if I was to have a fire that you say you're providing fire services for me, what's the odds of my cabin burning down versus someone in Price? If I have a crime in Schofield, Utah, what's the odds the sheriff's going to show up before the crime's over? And my other question is, why is it that Schofield City is excluded from this tax increase when they utilize all of the same services, if not more? I don't know about the rest of the county, And the main part of my speech was, I'm from Riverton, Utah. I chose to build a cabin here because it's a beautiful area in Schofield. I do not ever hear of anything in Carbon County where you're promoting growth. You say you're promoting growth. Where are the events? Where's the soccer tournaments? Where's the concerts that are being brought to this county to drum up revenue, let alone big business? I think somebody missed the boat on that this country has gone to high tech, and you should be promoting high tech versus carbon. Maybe you should even change the name of the county if that's possible. Because carbon is a thing of the past. It appears to be. I watch truck after truck moving out of Schofield full of coal, train car after train car. Where's all this coal going if you're not getting revenue? I mean, I drive into Schofield, I can't not pass a semi-truck every 5 minutes full of coal. I mean, is that not still revenue to you? I don't understand that. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we in the right order?
Go ahead.
Okay,
Deborah.
I'm Deborah Scoville. I've lived in this county my whole entire life, and I've seen boom and bust, and we are certainly not in a boom. And you know what? Properties here are appraised way over what they're really worth, because we don't live in Park City with a ski resort or with specialized medical services at our fingertips. We have to go over the mountains to shop. It's just, we just don't merit the price that we have to pay for property here in Carbon County. Also, we're also faced with the bond election that just passed. That is an additional burden we're going to have to be paying. My point is simply, this tax rate increase is excessive, and it hits certain people very hard. If it's for the benefit of all, the wealth should be spread a little bit. Maybe work out a cooperative with the cities to pay for these additional costs. They use the fairgrounds. City people use all the amenities around the county. So I think there can be some better management things done. I also say that you're in a position of public trust. We put our trust in you to make the fiscally responsible decisions. You should have thought of the cost of maintaining these buildings before you built them to keep them in operation. That's all I have.
Thank you, Deborah. Could we have Robert Lemon, Jaylene Malaris, Jim Walker, and Mark Olson come up too?
I'm Bernie T. Morris. I used to be a business owner here in Price. I also worked 2 jobs for 27 years, full-time jobs, not sitting part-time for a couple hours a day. I chose that profession. I am passing on taxes to you that you're going to get from you've got it for 30 years because I created Morris Monuments. You're getting that money, right? You're getting my money. But you're double taxing me because I sold my business. I bought a piece of property in 1968 from Art Belotis because he needed a jug of wine. And I took him to Schofield, and unless he sold me the property, I wouldn't get him the wine, okay? So that shows how many years ago I've been in here. I'm 73. You're double taxing me. You just added $500 this month for these taxes, and $470, we checked it yesterday, for next year. What's happened to that taxation, double taxation without rep and all that crap that we've listened to all our lives? But what I'm really telling you all, I noticed a lot of the things you read, you ducked your head, because you should be ashamed, totally ashamed. You was going to shut the damn seniors down because you didn't have any money. You asked for volunteers to help them, and you bought a set of damn toilets out there for what, 300,000? You found them somewhere? But let's get back to mine, the cabin at Schofield. I was at that meeting when you was taking turns pushing each other off the podium to say, look at me, I'm gonna save your life. I'm, you know, this is me. Boy, you guys were lucky you got our commission. We saw you once. Then we found out you're the one that supplied the aerial for the government to change the elevations that now I'm 9 feet off of keeping my place. You never quit. You're still working on it. That's a government problem. They're the ones that said we're taking their ground. You didn't. I checked the other day. What's it been, 4 years? They're still using your money to research this to help one of their people lose their cabin. Now, where's the justice in all this? Is there any? No. You've got to stop. We don't want anything new. In fact, how many of you that's in here are over 50 years old and have children that aren't here with you? Yeah, look at you. Why? I've got 2 daughters. One's in Des Moines, Iowa, one's in San Diego. I talk to them every day on Facebook because they couldn't come back to Carbon County. I sent my daughter off when she graduated from college, and I showed her how to get to San Diego and told her, dear, don't ever come back, just a visit, because you'll die here fighting like we're fighting tonight. We just want what we paid for. We don't want, in fact, I'm really surprised. You put everything else in this damn town, soccer fields, baseball fields. I got one more for you.
Bernie,
might bring you some money.
Bernie?
Yes.
You're a minute and a half over.
Okay, but I'm gonna say one thing. The NBA would probably be interested because you don't have a damn basketball field.
Okay.
I'm Robert Levin. I live out in Miller Creek in the unincorporated area. It seems like we was here about a year ago discussing the same thing. Somehow you people think that if we keep doing the same thing over again, you're going to get a different result, huh? Tell you, in 25 years that I've been out there, I paid almost as much in taxes as I did for the principal on my property. And the payments, if you divided my payments on my taxes by 12, it's about 50% of what my mortgage was. And the municipal funds, I don't know what services you get. Is that kind of like when the snow plow turns and goes down 8900 south and Emery County stops at the county line and I'm left there to chisel my own self out? And as far as your garbage collection, we pay for it in taxes once and then you got to pay for it again when you take your garbage in. And for all the municipal services that you provide out there, I would just as soon, I would pay you extra just to stay away. So I got one remedy for you. You could just seize the land now, seize it and pay and charge your subjects rent. How would that be? Then that'd be outright, huh? Okay, that's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm Jaylene Malaris, and I hope I don't get booed. I have a little bit different outlook. This is just going to, I'm totally opposed to the tax increase. My taxes went up last year, my husband's went up this year, they're gonna go up next year. I'm totally opposed, but you know, new growth in industry, it takes time. I'm sure you are doing your best. I've been working with Cheryl Lupo to help a friend of mine bring some aerospace technology here. He thinks it's going to be, you know, more than a 50% chance of doing that. But, you know, stuff like this takes time. That it does not happen overnight. Economic growth does not happen overnight. People have to understand that. But what we need to do is help and assist brothers, sisters, souls. I would like to see some funds put towards helping people who are downtrodden. I help people all day long. I have a huge ranch. I work my guts out there, and then I spend the rest of my time donating it to people, helping them move ahead mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. This county is just going to go round and around and around like we are if we don't reach out and pay it forward and help people and get them motivated to go to college, to get good jobs, to be productive citizens like we all are. You know, we need to help the people around us. That's what we need to do, because if we don't do that, everything is just going to stay broken and it's not going to get any better. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would yield my time to Cheryl Lupo.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Let's have Craig Hale, Danny Velasquez, Kimberly Clark, and Catherine Taylor come forward.
My name's Mark Olson. I own property in the county, more than one piece of property, cabin in Schofield. I'm a dentist in Price. Been here my whole life. I run a business. The county's a business. My fees have gone up as far as dental supply costs, lab fees, you name it, across the board. It's raised all across the board. So, and so in order to keep up, I do raise my fees at my office. On an average, the last increase was 2%, okay? 2% fee increase. It didn't equal the lab fee increases. We make that concessions, that's all right. But let's say I raise my taxes or my fees 733%, okay? That cleaning fee at $100, I'm at 102 because I raised it 2%. $733 for somebody to come get their teeth cleaned. Do you think they're going to come to my business? I mean, the county's just like my business, right? I make concessions, we cut here, we add here, we do whatever, but there's no way I could raise my fees 733% or 800%, which mine was over 800%, and still be a viable business. It's not going to happen. You know, are there other avenues to take to get fees, to raise, to get money in the county? We've been fighting the county for 4 years on these VBROs in Schofield. Finally, yeah, you guys are making them get business licenses. I don't know how well that's enforced, but what about room taxes on these? I mean, you know, the hotels are paying taxes on their rooms. How about the VBROs? I think there's other avenues to take, but no way could I raise my fees 733% and still be a viable business. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Danny Velasquez, and I live in the county, and I planned on retiring and owning a cabin in Clear Creek, so we bought a cabin in Clear Creek, so I get hit twice on this, just so you know. And there's probably other people here as well. And I'm also disabled, so I didn't get to finish working, so my income has reduced drastically. Let that sink in for a minute, because I think I'm speaking for a lot of people in here who are disabled also. We don't make the money that we used to or that we would like to, but yet the tax base keeps going up. I want to talk to you about Clear Creek for a minute. Clear Creek receives practically zero services from Carbon County. I want to reiterate, Clear Creek receives practically zero services from Carbon County. We have a homeowners association, which provides homeowners potable water, sewer, dumpster, garbage service, snow removal. All of that is done from the homeowners association in Clear Creek. In addition, the homeowners pay for their own utility services through utility companies, electric service, natural gas, telephone, internet services. We don't get the over-air television because it's been broke down for going on 4 years now. And for some reason, they can't make that happen. So we get to go through DirecTV or Dish or whomever, and that's okay. In 5 years living up in Clear Creek, I live there most of the time because I haven't been able to work, I've seen 2 police officers in 5 years. I don't know what kind of service that is. They don't patrol Clear Creek. I don't even know if part of the people in the county know where Clear Creek is. And I realize that sounds harsh, but that's the way the people up there feel. There are 5 of us that live there most of the year, and we have around 40 homes up there. I don't know the answer, guys, but it's not in raising our taxes. The answer is in finding ways to bring revenue into this county. When you do that first, then you can go ahead and put your hands in our pockets, but not until that time. Otherwise, you're going to have a fight on your hands just like we had 2 years ago. You're doing it all over again. Some of you were here back then. The other 2 of you, you inherited this mess. I believe in here there's enough ideas with the people. If you were to ask them, what can we do to bring revenue in? I think you'd really be surprised. It doesn't sit in this nice, pretty building that we overpaid for. The answer is sitting out here. So ask people, what can we do to bring revenue in? I think you'll really be surprised. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Craig Hale. My family's owned a cabin in Schofield since 1977. I built my own a few years ago, and my wife and I are full-time residents in Schofield. I'm in the same association with Jay and Chris. I guess the only thing I can really add to what's already been said is anytime you go from my place or away from my place, I need a front-end alignment. So what services? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Clark. I live in Carbonville. My home is right up against the canal bank, right next to the new subdivision going in, and right next to Dominion Energy. Many of you know it as Mountain Fuel or Questar, and I feel like I'm sandwiched. And my taxes, this one line item went from $32 to almost $300. That is an increase of 800%. And that one line item is not 16% for one line. That will take my taxes well over, this year's taxes was $1,500. Next year, it's going to be damn near $2,000. So, and I've been disabled since birth, and for my capability to work has not been very much. I have worked, but what's a person supposed to do? I'm standing here to ask for help. I'm here to say, hey, what about the disabled? You know, there are many of us in this county that are disabled, and we cannot work anymore, and what are we supposed to do about our taxes? And do you even realize that there are people out here that cannot work, and we have our taxes too? And I just want to make that, because one line item, 800% is a little much. So I'd like you to realize this when you're making your decision, because there are many more of us out here that need to have this thought of. And that's what I'd like you to think about. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Could we call up J.C. Pressett, Richard Godin, Scott Olson, and Larry Davis?
I'm Catherine Taylor. I live out in Carbonville. We have a lot of sheriff department service. They race up and down the Carbonville Road at 80 and 90 miles an hour. And one of these times they're going to kill somebody. Now, if that's municipal, I think it needs to be under advisement. Another thing, we talk about all these increases. First of all, we have the 800 and whatever additional. That's just for the county. Then we have the school district increase. Then I have a small place in Schofield. That's another increase. The state wants to raise our food tax. They want another increase there. Oh, they're saying they're going to give us an offset. Well, you know how that works. Once you get it, you don't ever get it back. The people in this county, there are a lot of retired people that live in the county on Social Security. We don't get a raise like this. We're lucky by the time they increase our Medicare costs that our increase on Social Security might be $10 per month for a year.
You don't see it.
You don't see it. It gets eaten up. And yet you people want all this money out of our pockets. We don't have it to give to you. We have to live too. But we have to live within our budget. If our gas bill goes up, if our electric goes up, we have to pay it. But that means we have to do without other things. I think the fact that your insurance costs, your benefit costs in all your department are at least half of what your salaries are. That in itself, there's something wrong there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you. My name is J.C. Pressett. I have spent a lot of time thinking about this issue. I've combed the budgets, I've interviewed commissioners in other counties, and I've worked really hard to try to come here with some solutions. Based on my research, I know you have a tough decision, and I know it's not going to be easy. I am aware that you have made cuts, but I want you to know that I support a few things. First off, I really want us to move toward being more sustainable. When we have a $2 million shortfall or a nearly $3 million shortfall, there's something unsustainable about the way we're running our government. I think you know that, and I think we're taking some steps, but I want you to know that I support taking more extreme steps. I support looking at privatizing the ambulance. I support looking at privatizing the dog pound. And I understand that these things might make some of my services inconvenient. But I promise you that if you reduce my services in an attempt to not raise taxes, I will not be at the public hearing in the future complaining because you took away some of my services. I will be supportive of creative accounting and creative ideas. The only exception to reductions that I support, like I understand that we can reduce costs in some areas. The one place I would hope you accept, you do not reduce prices on is, or support to, is those measures that increase economic growth. And I do see the measures that you are taking to increase economic growth, and I am excited. And I also hope that while you support economic growth, we understand that education is as important to economic growth as many other things, and we continue to support those. But if it means that I can't go to the fairgrounds 5 days a week and have complete services, I'm okay with that. If it means that I have to go to a private residence to pick up my dog from the dog pound, I'm okay with that. I support many options, and I will support you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Richard Godin. I moved here in 2002, and I ran a very successful business for Bridgestone here. As I looked at the graphs that we had tonight over the last, from 2008 or whatever it was, I noticed something that stands out just like it does every time. When government has extra money, what do? They spend it all. You look at those graphs on the years that you got, that this county got money in from mineral. What they do? They spend it all. Every time there was an increase in mineral money, there was a big spike in how much we're going to spend. There was no idea of saving that money. That's the same thing that's going to happen here. We're going to get a tax increase. Oh, well, we need more money. We're going to have a tax increase next year. I built a little cabin. I retired out in Miller Creek. My taxes went up every year on a 30 by 40 cabin. This is ridiculous. There's no reason that a cabin that size should cost me more and more every year. I'm paying $1,200 a year on taxes on a cabin that I paid $27,000 for the kit to build that thing. And in just a few years, I'm going to pay more in taxes than I paid for the kit to build the darn thing. And then you look at these other things you're talking about. All you're doing is shuffling money to another way so that you can get more money out of the people. The other thing I'm not happy with is you talk about the new business you brought into town. How did we get that new business or these expansions? We gave them a complete tax break and give them all kinds of money back so that they do that. How many years? How many years are we going to let them get by? We, the people, are going to be paying taxes. Oh yeah, we brought all this business in, but they're not paying taxes on it. Sure, it brought people in, but you tax us for it and you give it to them. That's ridiculous. There's people that would come here without having to sacrifice all the people that live in this county. There has to be a cut. That's just all there is to it. When you're in business, if things aren't going good, you cut what you spend. You don't say, well, we need a lot more money because it's not going to come in. You aren't going to kill your customers. That's what you're doing, is you're killing the taxpayers. We can't keep affording to do this. You need to cut whatever you need to cut, but we need to cut. Whatever it takes, if it's a reduction in people, if it's a reduction in whatever, there need to be cuts. That's a fiscal responsible thing to do, just like a business would do. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Scott Olson. I've just got a few comments. First of all, I'm against the tax increase, obviously, for the reasons that we too do not receive enough benefit in Schofield and in other properties we own around the county to warrant it. Also, I want you to really step back and think about if you have given enough consideration on cuts. Have you tightened your belt enough? I don't know. Maybe you need to look at it again. It's been brought up here a few times tonight. You've got a lot of senior citizens. You're going to put these people on the street. At 700% to 800% tax increase just on this small area, what's going to keep you from doing that next year to the bigger piece of the pie? You're going to run us out here. We can't afford it. I just don't understand. I've got one comment about the graph that went up this evening. The Hilltop project, was that not a private development up there? Why did we as the taxpayers pay $1 million for that road to be paved? That should have been on the developer, not the taxpayers' back. The other item I'd like
Why don't you stop right there? Those folks did. The homeowners there are paying the entire cost of the construction of that road.
But what did it show on the slide, Larry? It showed the county spent $800 and some thousand.
The county was part of securing a loan, and each of those residents now will pay back interest and the principal. Yes.
Okay. The way government accounting works, you have to show the revenue coming in
clearing that
for the
up.
expense.
Last item I'd like to talk about is a past county commissioner told me that about 6-7 years ago, we had $30 to $50 million in cash. And now we're broke. Where to go? Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I need to have Casey Williams, Alan Peterson, Cindy Christensen, Ben Montoya come up, please. Okay.
My name is Larry Davis. I voted for all three of you gentlemen. My wife and I are transplants in Carbon County. We've been here 40-something years. We've had 2 businesses. We've been fairly successful at it. Ain't got rich, but we made a good living. I think all of you guys know as business owners, and I think most of you've had businesses, I think you all know that you can't raise your price 700% and stay in business. So I don't know how you expect us to pay 700% on new taxes. It's just not a viable way of doing it. I understand that you have to have some new taxes, but I don't understand 700%. My wife's 62 years old. She works 60 to 70 hours a week, and she has for 40 years to make a success out of her business. To cut things that has to be cut, you have to cut it. I mean, you got to raise your prices somewhere sometimes, but you can't get overrated with it, because if you do, it'll come back and bite you in the butt. And, you know, I live out in Lower Miller Creek. You talk about your services in the cities. Well, your services in the cities, they got some nice services. But me, compared to their services, I'm camping out there. Believe me. I had a problem with the county 5 or 6 years ago. My property got flooded 5 times. My wife worked her guts out to have a beautiful landscape there, one of the prettiest places in Miller Creek. And I'll be danged, I couldn't get the county to go out and fix a doggone culvert that went under the street where the water bottled up on my corner and flooded that every year. Finally, there one councilman listened to me, and that was John Jones, and he said, I'll get that taken care of. And God bless his soul, he did that. But out there, we don't have any natural gas. We don't have any sewer. Only thing we got is water and power. We pay out the nose for propane. So, you know, you can't compare us, and you can't justify this raise you want on the services rendered in town, because we don't have it out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
My name is Casey Williams. I live in Pleasant Valley. And I just think it's ludicrous that we have a 700% tax raise. There's always been a good reason the taxes have been lower in the county, which everybody has stated. But for myself, I don't see much, if any, tangible benefits from this tax increase. And it was mentioned before about all the coal trucks rolling by up there. There's hundreds and hundreds a day, and they all have Idaho license plates on. And I think pretty well everything else has been covered, except how do you charge taxes on the property up there in the Schofield area where the BOR says they own the property and they're kicking the people out? You would have had more taxes if they wouldn't have bulldozed down my house up there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alan Peterson, but I would like to yield my time to Cheryl Lupo.
Okay.
And I would also encourage you to make sure that you fit her in before you cut this thing off. Thanks.
Thank you.
Cindy Christensen. So I have one question. What happens when your property is appraised for a lower value than what you guys are assessing the property for? Will you make adjustments to the tax rate on that property? The other thing I'd like to know is, you said that the premiums for the employees for the county were increased this year, and the county picked up that increase. Why didn't the employees have to pick up part of that increase? And as far as services in the county, there are too many days when we don't get snow plows. If we do get snow plows, if they come and push the snow right up to your driveway where you've just already cleaned it. They plow to the south instead of the north, where the snow would melt if they were going to be melting, or into the shade patterns instead of a sunny pattern. Thank you.
Thank you. We need to have Alan Larson, Mike Schmidt, Mary Gardelli, and Kathleen Steele come forward.
Hello, my name is Ben Montoya. I recently moved back to the county in 2016 from Wyoming. Our taxes when we first moved here were about $1,100 on our home that's valued at about $190. And for the last 2 years, it's gone up about $100 every year. And with this proposed tax increase, I'm looking at about another $400. I'm retired, and I'm starting to wonder if I made the right decision moving back. So I think I'm opposed to this tax increase, and I believe that you guys can do some cuts in other areas to make this more feasible. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mike Schmitz. I've been a resident of Carbon County here for 44 years. Had a contracting business here for about 40 years. It's pretty evident why I'm here. I think why everyone else is here from the previous commentaries is the drastic increase in the municipal services fund tax. I could see a smaller increase would be justifiable, but over 700% is quite a bit for the people of Carbon County. I've worked out of the area at times, out of state, and brought that money back into Utah, and I've paid my taxes from that money, and I would like to know who will make the decision to increase our tax, and if this is not increased, what alternative do you have to bring in funding for that? I would suggest if you have any power over the state in our next legislative session to convince our legislators that our area, our rural area, could use some help financially, as well as most of the rural areas of Utah. Our state is seeing a great expanse in revenue from all the construction work that's going on in the state, and the increase of population in our state. And I think some of that should be turned our way, and if you guys have any pull in that direction, that would be a great thing to do. I know you guys have a lot of decisions to make, and it's a very tough thing to do, and we appreciate your service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Alan Larson. Good news, gentlemen, is there is some good news. I don't know if you all seen the story on Channel 2 News about behind the books investigations. And I know this is not connected directly with the municipal fund, but they're talking specifically about the monies that were made available after the Parkland shooting. And there was over $1 billion that was made available by the federal government, and all the states in the United States took advantage of those grants or free monies that were available. They were available in Utah, and according to that investigation, when asked that question, there were, of the 43 school districts in the state of Utah, there were exactly 3 that applied for the money. I'd just like to ask, why is that? We've been talking here all night long about where this funding can come from, the taxpayers that we're asked to come up with money to make the shortfall. The short question is, 2 years ago, everybody was in the same room over the same issue, and they're saying, well, I'd like to ask the county commissioners what action on the county's part has taken place in those 2 years to acquire some other funding besides from the taxpayers. If this money is free and it's available, they asked the assistant superintendent of the state, why don't the school districts know about this money? He said they did know about the money. All through the summer, during all the meetings, everyone was made known, it was made known that these monies were available in grants. Exactly one school district got it, and that was a Provo school district, got $500,000. If Carbon County is in such dire straits that we need all this money, and we're scratching our heads, we got to bring in new business, we got to look here, we got to look there, but we don't take the time, we can't go and look into what the free money is. You know what the short answer is? The short answer is, when they ask all those individual people, well, why didn't you look into, who looks into that? Well, I don't know, they're too busy. They're doing other things. Doing other things, doing what? If you can't go and get free money, what are you coming asking taxpayers for if you can't even take the free money? Another thing is, I think you need to pump the brakes on this community in a hurry, because right now, it's kind of a sidebar in the news, but you got Murray Energy's filed bankruptcy. Now, you might not think that's, we're in coal country, right? The UMWA, even though Murray Energy does not have direct ties to union per se, but they pay into that UMWA pension fund, medical fund. There's a lot of people in Carbon County that live off that fund. that's going to be coming downstream to the economy in Carbon County at some point. Now, those are the folks that you're going to say are going to be talking about, these people that are talking about being out in the street. Well, you better multiply that by a few times of a factor of X. We're just in the front end of that. I know I'm over my time, but I'll be excused if...
Keep going.
I would just like to say that there may be federal funding being made available. They're already talking about in Congress that somebody in the government, somebody in Congress is going to have to step forward and get some funds made available if that fund for the UMWA fails. And so along that line, there may be some funding coming from government to depressed areas in coal countries or coal economies that may be able to help with that. So why don't we just put this off? Let's put this on the shelf. We've already done it for 2 years. I mean, can you tighten your belts for another year or whatever it takes to find out if that money comes available? And then can we say, okay, let's get somebody. If we don't have somebody on board that knows how to write a grant or find one, that seems to be the caveat about this whole thing. Nobody knows how to do it. Why don't they know how to do it? If they don't know how to do it, maybe they'd be trained to do it. We got all this technological things. Excuse me. I'll be paying for that. It doesn't seem like a big stretch, gentlemen. If that's so important and there's this money that's free that's out there and you have citizens that are literally at the point of being put in the street that we can't invest, of all the money we invest in, that we can't invest some money to get somebody trained that knows how to write grants and find them. And I agree with there's a lot of ideas that come out here that never entered my head when I got here. I support all these folks that have come up here and spoke. And I'm against this, and I think you ought to rethink it before anything happens with it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Gerdelli, and I won't talk long. I'll let him have my time. I did want to say, though, that I have property in the Schofield campsite at Schofield, and we pay our taxes, but we also pay camp fees, sewer. We have our own water system. We have to support our roads. Actually, we don't get anything from the county. No dog control, no police. Ambulances, I think, come from Schofield, which was, the ambulance was donated by Helper City many years ago. So, you know, we don't have fire protection, all of that kind of stuff. So I agree with everything that these people have been saying. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Could we have Colton Rudin, Doug Olson, Dan Washington, and Keith Hancock come up? Go ahead.
My name is Catherine Steele. We also have property in Schofield, and I agree with everything that's been said about the limited services that we get up there. We pay for our own snowplow. We pay for our own water system, and the list goes on. Okay, my main question is, what is going to be the ramification on Greenbelt property with this tax increase? Mr. Marsing tried to explain it to me and said that the increase will be the same on Greenbelt. We have Greenbelt out in 9 Mile where we have no services. We build our own road, we fix our own fences, we have no water, we have no electricity, we have no permanent residences out there. It's all gated, private, but you're gonna increase my taxes on this line for no services on my 4 pieces of property out there. So I stand here to say that I'm against this. I think it's ludicrous that you would raise our taxes because of the property value, and then you're going to turn around and raise this one line item 800+%. And I also have a home in Carbon County and one in Schofield. So, I mean, it just hits us like a dump truck. And we're retired on a fixed income, so there's a lot of people in Carbon County in the same situation that might have a cabin in Schofield and a home in the county, so we're getting double dipped. But my main question is what's going to happen on the green belt?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Commissioners, my name's Colton Rudin, and one thing I was going to talk about tonight was my grandparents being on a fixed income. This will increase their property taxes by what we estimated from $550 a year to $125. But I've also noticed a lot of people tonight have already talked about that. But one thing that I think I want to hammer on now is, as I look around the room and looked into the overflow, I didn't see a whole lot of young people here tonight. I'm 23 years old trying to raise my family here in Carbon County. I am beginning to regret that decision. If this tax bill goes through, it's going to raise my property taxes $100 themselves. If my wife is to lose her job tomorrow, I am trying to raise a family of 2 on about $2,000 a month. I would not be able to afford to pay for all of their necessities, let alone my wife's and mine, and try to pay this tax on top of it. It is ludicrous that it is being raised, and I, for one, am against it. We are losing young people, I feel, as being a part of the young member community. We are not having people wanting to move here. Or stay, agreed, or stay. And like I said, I am one of those that is making the regrettable decision of staying here. I have considered moving my family out of this county, out of this state. And this is one of the reasons why. We cannot afford a tax higher like this, whether it be me being 23 years young, being able to work as hard as I can, or if it's a couple of senior citizens living on fixed income. I really want you guys to look again, and again. Look every place you can to either find grants or find other places that we can cut spending. Because this county's gonna die eventually if we keep raising taxes like this, because young people will not be here. Thank you.
Thank you. My name's Doug Olson. Last year you wanted to raise taxes on everyone in Carbon County. You were here last year. Over 700%, and it was voted down unanimously. Now this year, for 2020, you have again proposed to raise tax of 800%. In order to do that, you propose not to tax the cities and towns, but only in unincorporated areas. This, in my opinion, was your attempt at getting the proposal to pass by dividing the community. So are we looking at another tax increase for next year and the year after that and the year after that? So we just keep doling out money, but you don't seem to realize that a lot of people who live in this county are on fixed incomes, including myself, my wife, and live in a home that they've lived in all their lives. And there's a lot of people that work, a lot of people are out of a job right now. So if this proposal gets voted in, those people and others struggle to make their tax payment, possibly lose their home. My home will go up $1,400, which will take more from my income than me and my wife can live on. I believe you should reconsider what you're proposing, take a closer look at the turmoil you're going to cause. And if I may make a suggestion, you ought to apply with the state and put in a medical, and I say a medical, marijuana dispensary in Carbon County, and may your taxes could go straight up. Thank you.
My name is Dan Washington. I own property in Carbon County. I got my proposed tax, for next year, and this year's tax for this municipal fund. I'm supposed to pay $142 this year, and my estimated tax for next year is $1,191. I don't know where I'm going to get that money because I'm on a fixed income. I'm retired, and I can't afford that. I came early this afternoon and asked a few questions to the assessor and to the county clerk, and showed that my taxes have gone up for the last 2 years or 3 years, $1,000 a year. And I can't afford that. It's just, I scraped up the money for this year, and I think this is absolutely ludicrous, like everybody else has said. And they said that the reason that my taxes are increasing enough is because the value of my property has gone up $50,000 a year for the last 3 years. I can't sell my property for that amount. There's no way. But that's what you're taxing me on. And I don't think that's fair. I think that's an unfair tax. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Could we have, let's see, I only see one there. Are you Dan or Keith?
Keith.
Keith, okay.
I'd like to give my time to Cheryl Lupo.
Okay. Okay, Bob Del Ponte, Tom Matthews, John Woolsey, and Raymond Suilla. Yeah.
I would also like to yield my time to Cheryl Lupo.
Thank you.
My name's Tom Matthews, and I'm not yielding my time. I'm going to keep it for a minute. First off, I'd like to say there's very few businesses in this county that we can spend money at. As a taxpayer or somebody buy, maybe 6 or 7 places in this county. You can start in Helper. You can go to the RV, Rocky Mountain ATV, the trailer house places. Maybe you can go to Grog's. You can go out to Industrial Park, or you can go to your brother's place and buy stuff there. Other than that, there's not many businesses in the county, so you have no way of generating a lot of money. But what I'd like to talk about is how we can generate money. Let's take recreation. We looked at all what we're spending on is special municipal service fund. But I think we need to take a look and take a list of all the people that participate in recreation. And if they live in the city, let's charge the cities for their proportion of it. All that goes to the municipal service fund. So if we're playing softball or if we're playing soccer, the city should pay their fair share of that, not just the counties. So I mean, that would help with your revenues. We talked about we've lost mineral lease money. A year ago or 2 years ago, and Commissioner Hopes, you were there, Commissioner Jensen, you were there, you were on the other board. When the county came and wanted to build the restrooms and everything out there, and we were told then you didn't have any money. The rec board wouldn't fund it for you. And I told you that you were losing the money to the mine. But we went around the commission and we went to the special service. I mean, we went to the CIB money, and so now you got a payment for that. That wasn't all granted. You're paying for part of that.
There's no. Can you stop for just a second? There is no payment on the soccer fields.
So what about you got a total grant on all of the restrooms?
Yes. It's completely paid off.
Now, but when you got it, you had to pay part of it. There was part of it. It wasn't a total 180.
So $400,000 did come from the special service district, and the rest of it was grant.
But after that, you went for the money for the $180,000 for the bathrooms. That was afterwards, and you went to the CIP.
Completely done. It's paid off.
Okay. Now,
okay, thanks.
We look at the soccer fields. I went by the soccer fields up at the college. There's this big billboard up there. Castle View Hospital soccer fields. You know, and I would imagine there's a lot more money generated at the Castle View Hospital by the residents of this county than there is to the people that go to the college. So we should have had somebody there trying to help raise that money for us to there. Then let's talk the gun range. We have one of the premier things in the state of Utah that we're not promoting. You have the restaurant tax money and all this other thing. And here we're promoting come to the softball field. I mean, come to the stock car races. Why aren't we up there at every gun show or every show giving tickets, free things away? Come to Price. Come to our gun show. I talked to Tony Basso. He'll help give you some motel rooms. I mean, if you buy a motel room for him, he'll buy you some lunches or give you something to help entice it. That's how you get new money back into here. The other thing I think we need to look at, we need to look at every program we do, just like I talked about recreation. Let's take the ambulance. Let's take all these programs that we do. Fire protection, now we're paying a lot more money. So maybe they should pay more of dispatch. Take that back out and charge them their fair share of the cities, and that could stop coming out of them. One thing I'd like to talk about is the landfill. I think we ought to open that up on Sunday. It would be generated, you would generate revenue out of it. You look out there now, all the cement that came there, most of it came from Helper City. Now the municipal service funds one day is going to have to pay to take that and clean that up. The cities didn't. We waived the fees from Price City for businesses to be tore down, and the tax rates hasn't gone up. They probably have gone down because there's not even a business there. And I think you wouldn't have to do it in the wintertime, but in the summertime, I think you would make money. But one thing with landfill, the other day, somebody come at coffee and asked about what they could do with railroad ties. They went to the land, they wouldn't take them. So they went to EC, DC, they wouldn't take them. But what they should have done is went to Schofield and dumped them in the dumpsters at Schofield, which nobody pays for, because they could dump them in there. But I live in Spring Glen. I have to pay the landfill every day. Those people don't.
Tom?
Okay.
Yeah,
but part of that, he discussed part of it. He did, you know, and I'm about to. The other thing we've looked at how to raise taxes. We talked to the governor and them was talking to the legislation. I think you guys can do this better. How many trucking companies live in this county that don't pay taxes on their trailers? They all license them in Idaho. That's money could come back into here. The other thing is the green belt. We have all these people buying property, and I know of one person that bought property, and for 2 years he's been in the green belt and never run a drop of livestock on it. But we never charge them. And there's a lot of people there that we could go back and readjust them. And I think the other thing is this guy here, the sheriff, if when it comes to back that we're taking money out of the cities, maybe we shouldn't spend as much time in the cities. Let the cities patrol the cities and let the sheriff's department stay in the counties. And that on there. And that's mainly what I had to say. But the last thing I have to say for a generation, you could really generate a lot of money. You could put the old Helper jail or jail in down here, and all these people are getting, it looks like they may go to prison in the Trump administration. Maybe you could put them here and we get tourists, they all come down to this. Thank you. And I know you got to raise taxes some, but I think that's quite a bit.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks. John, this time. No, this is John Woolsey here.
Are you John?
It was Raymond.
Okay.
So Raymond then did.
So after Raymond
yielded his time.
Okay. So Cheryl, you're up after John.
Hi, I'm John Woolsey, representing Clear Creek. I'm an elected member of the board, Homeowners Association. And I've tried to talk with as many of our residents up there as possible. And it's been talk time after time about the hardship of this expense that you're placing upon us. And generally, we're all speaking of a retired association up there. My son-in-law and daughters and one other gentleman's the youngest people in that whole community, except for on weekends when other homeowners show up from Salt Lake and whatever, and they bring their friends and neighbors and they terrorize the town with ATVs, and we get no support for that. We try the best we can to get them to tone it down. But actually, there's no law enforcement. All we can do is threaten them. And anyway, many things have been said about you go dig deeper if you can, because you're throwing all this taxes upon us, fixed income, whatever, and we're not getting the services up there. We have no TV. And it's been promised for 4 or 5 years that the person here in town would get up there and provide the free TV from satellite, I believe. And it's not working, and he keeps saying we'll get to it, but it never does. And bottom line is, we want more services. If we have to pay for it, why can't we get those municipal funds up there? And for one thing, we could help out if you guys would provide us a snow removal vehicle, whether it's a dozer or a rubber-tired vehicle, front-end loader, or a dump truck with chains and a plow. We could, that would save the county a lot of money, and we would run that ourselves and take care of our own snow. I'm about done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Cheryl, we'll give you 10 minutes.
Okay. I've got marked down 12, but anyways, okay. I'm here tonight to bring information from the research that I've done concerning the unincorporated area and the Municipal Service Fund. I ask you to please take this information that I'm presenting in the spirit that it is intended. Before I begin with my findings, I have a couple of requests. Number one, a service cost analysis needs to be done immediately before any decisions are made on the 2020 tentative budget, and mailed to every citizen in the county. Number two, by my findings, I'm requesting that the Municipal Service Fund be dissolved because it is being used to subsidize departments. The following information comes from the 2018 financial statement and can be retrieved from the county's webpage under 2018 Audit Financial. Municipal Service Fund had an ending balance of $5.9 million. That's on page 19. Charges for services increased, which is considered mineral lease money, by $3.1 million, primarily from an increase in royalty revenue from selling additional coal. The decrease of $6.2 million in expenses is attributed primarily to a decrease in public health of $5 million. It's an extra $5 million from removing the Southeast Utah Health Department as a component unit. That totals $14 million. The balance of $10.4 million is unrestricted, which denotes that this amount may be used to meet general ongoing financial obligations, page 6. I would also like to have answers as to where this money is and/or went to. I know that you cannot answer now, but in the near future and mailed out to all citizens in the county, not just the unincorporated areas. These numbers affect everyone in the county. So on to my findings. First item is a performance audit of counties, which Christian Briner alluded to, that was done in 2010. This audit was performed by the Office of the Legislative Auditor General, State of Utah, in 2010. There were 10 counties that were part of the audit, and Carbon County was one of the counties. Objective of the audit was to determine whether county general fund dollars are being used to support or provide municipal services. The report states that there has been some concern that counties and cities may be inappropriately subsidizing municipal type services. The purpose of requiring counties to maintain a municipal service fund is to ensure that residents in both the unincorporated county area and incorporated cities are paying the services they receive. The Municipal Service Fund is not there to subsidize the Sheriff's Department, search and rescue, range fires, animal control, streetlights, and predator control. Those are just some of the departments' line items that are on the Municipal Service Fund. From page II of the performance audit, this is a direct statement from the performance audit. Rural county municipal services are provided from the general fund. Because there are no statutory restrictions on the provisions of the Municipal Service Fund for 4th class through 6th class counties, rural counties are not in violation of Utah Code 17-36-92A, which requires a Municipal Service Fund of 1st class through 3rd class. Most of 4th class through 6th class counties sampled pay for municipal service funds to their counties from their general funds. Carbon County is a Class 4 county based on the population in the county and has chosen to have a municipal service fund. but by Code 17-36-92A, it is not necessary to have a municipal service fund. From page 2 of the performance audit, 4th class through 6th class counties or rural counties are not required to have specific funds separating the services funding. However, they continue to provide some municipal type services to county residents. The rural counties generally pay for their services from the general fund. Also, although rural counties are not required to separate their funding from their general fund, Utah Code 17-34-1 obligates all counties to try to match their funding and services as much as possible without a municipal service fund. Again, there is no need for Carbon County to have a municipal service fund. From page 17 of the performance audit, compounding these complexities is the PELT money, which hasn't been mentioned today, received by counties. This money is intended for use in unincorporated county areas. Because it goes into county general funds, it may also be used for some incorporated cities' public safety. Looking at the 2020 tentative budget, PELT money is not showing as a revenue in the municipal service fund, but it does show in the general fund coming in as a revenue of $1.3 million. What is this money going to be spent on if it's not going into the municipal service fund? From page 11 of the performance audit, we recommend that all counties perform periodic service cost analysis in order to determine that the services being received by citizens are the ones they are paying for. I am asking the commissioners to do this service cost analysis based on the information from the performance audit and distribute out to all citizens of the county by mail because not everyone has a computer. A service cost analysis is an analysis that will take those services that the municipal service fund is supposed to be giving to the citizens to make sure that those monies are spent properly. A municipal service fund was put together in 1971 by the state of Utah, and they are the ones that govern those laws. On to the Utah Code that oversees how accounting, budgeting, etc. is determined. The state of Utah writes the laws for counties, and Utah Code 17-36-1, Uniform Fiscal Procedures Act for counties, and the purpose is to establish uniform accounting, budgeting, and financial reporting procedures for all counties. In order to find this on the internet, you can either put the Utah Code number in or the Uniform Fiscal Procedure Act. Also, there is the Utah Code 17-34. Counties may provide municipal service funds. 17-34-2B, fund those services. This explains the 3 different ways to collect money for a municipal service fund. Levying a tax, which is what's going on right now. Charging a service charge or fee to persons benefiting from the municipal type service is another option. Providing funds to a municipal service district in accordance with section 17B-2A-1109. In the performance audit, a county did the cost analysis on a 1-hour call from the sheriff's department and came up with a $45 an hour fee. $2.2 million divided by $45, that's a lot of time in unincorporated areas. That's just one line item on the municipal service fund. This certainly can be done for the county. The following are the line items that the unincorporated area is facing to pay if this budget goes through. Planning and zoning, sheriff. I'm going to just talk a little bit about the sheriff's department. I would like to see how the unincorporated area spent $2.2 million on the sheriff's department. I would like to see the call-out sheet for the whole year. That is a lot of $45 per hour that was mentioned in the performance audit. I also believe that if everyone in the county votes for the sheriff, then everyone in the county should pay for the sheriff. The sheriff's department is for all county to use, not just the unincorporated area. This should not be in the municipal service fund. It needs to go back into the general fund. County unincorporated contracts. County unincorporated contracts, now this is something I could see all of us paying for. This is a breakdown of what is in there. City police and animal control, city fire department, dispatch services, law enforcement, patrolling. I could see us unincorporated people paying that line item. That's reasonable. On this line, also, I'd want to make mention, city police is a line item under county unincorporated contracts. City police and sheriff, to me, are public safety. That's two line items, two different line items being taxed twice. Animal control is another one under the county unincorporated contracts, but animal control is another line item. That's two line items for animal control. Fire department. Well, and then you've got the range fire department. That's two line items being taxed. That's, to me, is double taxation. And I'm not sure what law enforcement patrolling is, but it probably goes in there with public safety. So there's three line items that we're paying 3 times the tax on. Range fires, the range fire department, the range fire department is one department that does not show under the code 17-34-1. I don't understand why it's under the municipal service fund to begin with. Range fires, to me, are range fires out yonder. Why is only the unincorporated people paying for range fires? If we didn't start them, why are we paying for them? The next item is search and rescue. $59,000. This is used by all the county. Why is only the unincorporated paying for this service? So a Price resident.
Search and rescue pays for itself.
Well, it does, but it's on this municipal service list.
Right, but the revenue that they bring in for their...
Right, the revenues and the expenses all go the same. But my point is that you've got a resident in Price that needs search and rescue in Schofield. Do you need to deny them because it's only on the unincorporated list? No. We're going to go out, search and rescue is going to go out there and take care of them. And then the other thing with search and rescue, now I've lost my train of thought on search and rescue. Search and rescue probably should go back to general fund then, because it makes it kind of confusing. I said search and rescue probably should go back to the general fund because it makes it a little confusing then, if it is a wash. Public lands is another line item. Predator control, animal control, street lighting, highway class B roads, and highway. The grand total that if this went through would be $6.8 million. To me, that sounds kind of subsidized. These different departments sound subsidized to me. The Municipal Service Fund was started, like I said, in 1971 by the state of Utah, just to show money's going in and money's going out, not to subsidize departments. It was set up, for instance, a class 1, 2, and 3, those counties are large counties, Salt Lake County, Utah County. They want to see those monies flowing. They want, but it's not set up to harbor money, to take, it's just a set up to put the money in, take the money out for the expenses. And then one other item that I wanted to go over, there was wanting to do a comparison with unincorporated area with a Price City, for instance. The population of Price City is roughly 8,700 people. The unincorporated is 6,100 people. So that doesn't sound like an even wash to me, a balance. There's a couple thousand people, you know, less in the unincorporated areas. Price City Police Department, they paid last year $1.9 million in their police department. We're looking at $2.2 million with less people than Price City. To me, there is a lot of money going into police services and our fire expenses. And I kind of agree with whoever said about co-oping, that maybe we ought to co-op these services. That wouldn't be a bad idea. That way we can maybe keep a better watch on, you know, because just like the county sheriffs, I've seen the county sheriffs in the cities. Why aren't Helper City, Price City, Wellington, East Carbon paying that fee when they go into their areas? They should be helping. If this is a true cost, $2.2 million. And then the mineral lease money. I'm going to just stem on the pay in lieu of taxes, PELT money. Federal was what you guys are budgeting to get is 1.1 million, and then state is 133. That's 1.3 million. Again, I just wanted to reiterate that. That's extra money. And then the mineral lease money, everybody can get this. Linda Ballard will give this to anybody. You guys just need to ask for it. Right now, the county is at $964,000 in federal mineral lease money. I'm not sure what county mineral lease money is. 90,000? Okay. And last year was 1.9. That's how much they got last year. So I think I have covered everything that I wanted to cover, yes. So.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Some good ideas. Okay, Fred Davis, Frank Burdick, Nadine Morris, and Jay Dinkelman.
I'm Fred Davis. I live here in the county. I've lived here most of my life, off and on. A year ago, I listened to your song and dance about all the wonderful things that were going to happen in our county when you were elected, if you were elected, and our county hired you. And tonight we're experiencing another song and dance about the dissatisfaction of your performance and your desires to raise taxes on us, and many, many good reasons why this shouldn't be taking place. The problem I have is I believe that these comments have fallen on deaf ears. I believe that none of you have the gumption to do what needs to be done to cut the taxes, to reduce this. We live way beyond our means. I think that it's time that we live within the means that we have. And I'd like you to remember that we hired you as the citizens of this county with a very handsome wage to go along with that. And we can fire you. And I believe if this tax increase comes up, that you will find that the latter is what's going to happen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Frank Burdick. I'm a longtime resident of Carbon County, and not a well-educated man, but it doesn't take a well-educated man to see what's going on here. This is a small-town carnival shell game. The county has moved expenditures in the county to different areas in the budget to make it so they can get it to where it is they can raise taxes to the unincorporated part of the county. I don't know many people in this county, and I'm sure there's some that don't have to live within their means. I have had to live in my means for my whole life. I started working when I was 14 at a literal job that, you know, I paid taxes doing. And when I didn't have money to pay my bills, I had to cut my budget to pay my bills. It's a lot easier to spend somebody else's money than your own. Well, most of the people in this room don't have somebody else's money to deal with. They have just what they have in their pocket. And the county should step to the plate. We elected you to change what people in the past has done to our county. They overspent. And now it's time we expect you already did some cuts, we expect you to cut again, because the people in this county are cutting because they don't have the money in their pocket. Not everybody, I'm just saying most people don't have the money in their pocket to pay that. I live on a fixed income. I'm retired now. And do I live a good lifestyle? Yeah. Do I have boats and all that? No. But I'm happy with what I have. But if you continue to tax people to the point to where they can't have a productive and happy life, then people don't want to be here. I hope that everybody in Carbon County, if this situation isn't addressed, and I think if Carbon County residents have to cut, so do the county have to cut. So I'm hoping if we don't get a hold of the budget and get it nipped in the bud and get it under control until the economy gets better, which I think good things are happening, we're going to continue to go down that slippery road. I hope that if this doesn't happen, hey, they work for me and they work for you too. So if that doesn't happen, I hope we all remember that these people work for us, and we'll get somebody else in there who does do it and make it financially sound in the Carbon County. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nadine Morris. I'd like to start with a couple positive things, if I could. Firstly, I'm really grateful to be living in the United States, where we can come here and spend a couple hours venting, and we're allowed to do that. And so I just want to say that from the bottom of my heart. I know that you all have family and you live here. So I hope you want the best for your family that you want for us. So I try to think in my heart that you want to do a good job. You don't want your own families to suffer, or your children or your parents. But I think maybe you're a little out of touch with who you're representing. And I would say I don't have the figures, but there are a goodly amount of retired people, a lot of non-working people, and a lot of people working at minimum paying jobs. We can't take this burden on. And where I do understand the mineral lease money, you gotta give it up. You can't keep, honestly, we saw our neighbors with no jobs, we see the pumps not working for the oil, why didn't you see it? You can't be oh, we might get $900,000 next year. Life doesn't work that way. You can't be oh, wow, I hope we get it. We're not getting it. We saw that. All of us saw it years ago, so I don't see why the expenditures. We don't live in Salt Lake. We're not hot shots. We don't need new buildings. We don't need brand new soccer fields. The best soccer players in the world are from Brazil. They play on the dirt. They don't even have a field. And I know that's redundant because it's already done, but I would like a commitment from you now that honestly you're Nancy Reagan's from here on out. Just say no. Say no to everything. We don't need anything else. We need to take care of what we got. Thank you.
Let's see, up after Jay will be Karen Hales, then Delbert Hales, Jaceline Williams, and Lena Topolovic.
Hello, my name is Jay Dinkelman. There's two things you can guarantee, death and taxes. The problem is you don't want to be taxed to death. I think that, and unlike most of the people here, the 700% is not correct. I'm looking at 833%. I live out in Westwood area, and we probably enjoy quite a few of the services that the county has to provide. We don't have street lights. So I'm not sure if that's something that's offered in that area. I noticed there was a line item moved from the general fund, and that was, I think it was law enforcement, to the municipal fund. And I kind of wonder if that's the intent was we're taking the full brunt of law enforcement from that. I do believe that there's a lot of non-essential programs offered in the county that should be self-sustaining. I believe, well, I'm not going to go into detail on each one, but I think we need to take a look at that, and I'm willing to put in my 2 bits after the meeting if you'd like to know. I used to work for the county. I used to run the animal services. I think that ought to be outsourced. I think that there's several parts of the road department that needs to be outsourced. You look at the state. What did they do with their state roads? They outsourced everything, and they kept employees on to oversee it. Every year that there's a tax, there's a property tax that's looked at, I have to go in and fight and tell them that's out of line. I cannot sell my house today for what I bought it for in 2006. It's just gone downhill. So my concern is it going to keep raising, and when is it going to stop? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Karen or Delbert Hales. Jaceline Williams then. And then Lena Topolovic, Gary Ratcliffe, Jace Draper, and Roger Rowley.
Well, I did not plan to speak tonight. I didn't know you did that. I don't go to these meetings on a regular basis. But when I walked in the door and they asked me, I thought, well, I usually do think of something I'd like to have said, so here I am. Now, I know for a fact I've lived in Price for 82 years, and my husband served on the Price City Council, which gave us the opportunity to know important people. And one of those people happened to be Lee, that's the problem I have with my age, I forget names. Lee Simpkins. And he told us he had just retired from being on the county commissioner position, and he kept in touch with what was going on in the county, even though he wasn't involved in it. And he told us then, and that was 40 years ago, that the commissioners were spending too much money and it was going to hurt Price City. I did not realize it would take 40 years for us to realize that, or for it to come open. Well, I also am aware that we've never had a Republican on the council for 70 years in Carbon County, and I think we need to be ashamed of that. We need a two-party system to have a good running, healthy government. And it was then when we found out that there was a problem. And there was an article in the paper that said it was because we had a Republican elected is why we were in debt. And I thought, could we really believe that? Well, I know for a fact that you inherited this. It wasn't your baby. But I don't think after 40 years you can correct it in a year. This is going to take a long time. And I sympathize with all the people that have talked tonight because they can't afford it. I can't afford it. I have a cabin in Schofield, and we were paying $2,400 a year for our taxes in 2011, and they increased it to 48. They doubled the amount we were paying. That was the first time I ever got involved in going and finding out why my taxes were what they were. Well, it took till 2013. I was so inexperienced, I didn't really know what I was doing. And it took till 2013 to get all the mistakes that I knew of corrected. And the county assessor agreed and signed a paper that that's what our taxes would be. Well, that made me compatible with the only other cabin, and I looked up 30 or 40 different cabins to see what my cabin compared with. And there was only one. And it put me, I think it was $40,000 worth more than that cabin. And I could see, well, my cabin was 12 years older, and it did have 120 more square feet in it than that cabin. So I felt like it was pretty fair and honest. I thought I was through with going to those meetings. I thought we had that all solved. Well, this year, I was expected to pay $1,200 more than what I was already paying. So I go back and find out they've changed the figures. My cabin isn't the same size that it used to be. This is wrong and that's wrong, and I've corrected that. Well, actually, Mr. Kelly come down from the state and brought my taxes down about $600. But I compare it now with that cabin that I used to be $40,000 difference. It's $107. Now, that cabin was sold, and did that mean that my cabin was more expensive? I was also told if I wanted to find the value of a cabin, that I should find somebody that sold their cabin for less money than what the county had said it was worth. I found one lady that had a cabin that was valued at $600,000, and she sold it for $300,000. And I thought, that poor lady, how could she do that? I took the initiative. I don't know her from Adam, but I found out her phone number and called her and asked her how she did that. And she said, well, she really only paid $300,000, or at least that's what she was in debt for. And she could make her payments, but she couldn't pay her taxes, so she had to sell it. It just isn't right that people are overtaxed. If you have a cow, if you don't feed it, you can't milk it. If these new businesses come in, and I'm so excited, I've noticed how much more traffic are on the roads with people coming in, and you're gonna tax them to death, they're not gonna stay. And rumors gonna get around, and they're not even gonna come. And most of the cabins in Schofield are not owned by taxpayers in Carbon County. And word's gonna get around, you don't wanna buy a cabin in Carbon County. They tax you to death. 3 miles from the border of Carbon County and Utah County, there is a cabin similar to mine. I'm paying $3,400 now for mine. He pays $2,000. He has only had a $20 increase over the years, and he can get his for $2,000. That, it just isn't right.
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Lena?
Thank you for this time. My name is Linda Topolovic, and I opposed this increase and reiterate what other speakers have commented on. When we are looking at this tax increase, please keep in mind that this is not our only tax increase because of the school board increase voted in and the property reevaluations, which, by the way, have been giving the county the money to not increase taxes in some of the previous years. So in essence, there has been tax increases all along. For retired people, especially the greatest generation with fixed incomes, many of whom worked during a time when wages were not as high as currently, but their Social Security wages are based on those figures, not on today's figures. Hope they don't start losing their homes because they are the people that built this county originally. Rather than repeating what others have said, I would like to bring up some other areas. Please do not only look at your budget, but at your processes. Example, you indicated that you are currently disposing of county property. Yet a few years ago, the process in the county for disposing of property was changed so that a bid process was no longer required. I suggest you change this back to the way it was, which was open to the public instead of behind closed doors, with the bid process where you can set a minimum amount instead of having a giveaway program. Please look at the capital projects processes as well, and the justification processes, and tighten them up. Look at the long-term maintenance costs, the correct forecasted income from the projects, the hidden costs, as well as the actual project build dollars. Example, the soccer field. And I know it's a done deal now, but just as an example, we have a nice park in Springland that could have been used for a soccer field rather than building it new. And it would have saved money not only for the county, but for those people having to work on the park, raise their own money to pay for the maintenance. It could have been a win-win. We have to pay into the recreation for the county in Springland, but we don't see the funds to support the park that is in our area. I know there are some stipulations on that land, but I think it can be figured out. Each upcoming project should require detailed and in-depth reviews before proceeding. Let's do the work up front so we don't have to pay for it in the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Gary Ratcliffe, Jace Draper, or Roger Rowley?
My name is Gary Ratcliffe. I want to take a little different approach to this. First of all, I want to thank you three gentlemen for your service to the county, Carbon County. I am a county official in another county. I have property in the Schofield area. I know better than most in this public hearing what it's like to try to provide services that are required by state statute and not have the resources to do that adequately. I fight with my county commission all the time to the point of being very frustrated. Utah County is the most rapidly developing county in the state. Utah County raised the county portion of their general tax obligation through the property tax. I think the last time they did that was like 1982 or 1983. Now that's irresponsible government. Government has to learn several things. They have to learn to obviously look at things with a keen eye. They have to listen to their constituents. They have to listen to the people and only provide the services that are absolutely necessary. This, to me, tonight, appears to be two different counties going opposite directions because Utah County chose to do things irresponsibly. We've gone through the same public process in the last week or two, and very hostile environment, but some very necessary services were being not offered to the degree they need to be offered. And I represent a very small department. The sheriff's office there in Utah County has over 500 employees. I have a total of 7. Now, with 7 employees with the smallest county department, I've had to learn to live within my means like no other. I've had to tighten my belt to the point where I cannot do the things that I need to be doing to serve the people. And it's because of selfish political reasons that some of my commissioners, because they have their head in the clouds, I guess, want to take this route. But fortunately, I think we might get this finally through. Again, it'll be the first tax increase since 1982. But I think this county, Carbon County, I think you're going a whole different direction here. When I purchased my cabin property in the Schofield area a few years ago, what greeted me about the second year into that was a 300% tax increase on my property. Something I'm not acclimated to there in Utah County. And I thought, well, maybe this is a fluke. Well, it definitely hasn't been a fluke. And so I think maybe you're just trying to, I don't know what you're trying to do, if you're trying to grow too fast, too quick, if maybe some of these services are not all that necessary, I don't know. But it's just been an interesting dynamic for me to sit back and watch, you know, what's been going on here in Carbon County and compare it to what I'm used to. And I would challenge you commissioners to really look hard. I know you're listening to the people. Now you've got to make some hefty decisions. The thing that I would suggest that you do, and I wish you would have been doing this all along, when you start noticing that revenue stream start to dwindle in 2013, 14, whatever, even though there were some peaks, some good years in there, at that particular point in time, you should have been incrementally raising that tax, not blast the citizens with a 700, 800% tax increase. That doesn't do any good for anybody. So that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. One more call for Jace Draper. Is that you, Jace? Okay. And then Roger Rowley, if he's here.
All right, I'm Jace Draper, and I'm a Carbon High senior this year, so I think I'm the youngest and maybe the pinkest person here. But if we're going to continue with business as usual, we're going to see a lot of different things if we don't have this tax increase. We're going to have our fairgrounds shut down, our softball, airplane, shooting, fishing, you name it, going away. And I've used almost every single one of those, other than the senior citizen home, so let's not put me there. But if we don't start living by design, this is what we will see. And as a Carbon High student, I hear constantly, well, there's nothing to do in Carbon County, there's nothing to do. They're not looking. But if we continue with business as usual, there won't be anything to do. A lot of people have talked about our coal industry, and that awesome picture behind shows our oil, our railroad, and our coal mines. But coal's not going to be along for much longer. It'll be definitely gone by the time I'm retired. And our school bond needed to be passed, and I will never receive those benefits of our school bond, but the education that they will learn to take them higher places and bring new business into Carbon County is what this is needed for. Looking for new economic growth outside of coal is going to be our first step. Our family owns a pedigree on Main Street, and every time someone brings in their hybrid, mini, Orca weenie that's matted, and it bites me, I don't get mad. It's because I know that's been under environmental stress. And commissioners, you guys are our Chorka weenies right now. And we are seeing the bite at face value, not understanding the environmental stress you guys have been put under. So if we're going to see this, I would encourage privatization of our ambulances and our dog kennels. And I, as many as others, would encourage a special committee, and referring this to a special committee, consisting of not only commissioners and auditors, but also select residents and many others, until this matter is resolved. Because if we don't do a tax increase, Carbon County will not prosper as it should. And that's what we're all here for, is to keep it prosperous, but we need to give. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I have 4 left. It would be Jim Darter, George Ingram, Amanda Godin, and Josh Nelson. Jim Darter first.
Roger was here. I hope you're still here. I want to commend you, gentlemen, Mr. Martinez, Mr. Jensen, Mr. Helps. I helped get you elected. I realize that you inherited a mess, and we're going to continue to pray for you for wisdom and decision in uplifting this, because you've got some tough decisions to make. My point, as I said 2 years ago, was a household lives on the budget of the income they receive. If you have less money coming in, you have to cut the money you're spending out. There was a reorganization 2 years ago. One of the things I thought was a little bit short-sighted was you let Tammy Ursenbach go from cutting that department, and then 6 months later, under reorganization, you're bringing it back without her. And she put a lot of effort into behind-the-scenes thing, but you can't say, okay, that was worth so much money. But that was a cut. And to cut somebody that's working specifically for economic development, that hurts. Now, can the county do better things and do it more efficiently, more? We've had two, Mr. Hopes will probably correct me on this, 50-year flood events on the Price River. It's taken 3 years of me calling and calling and calling and calling. There has been equipment show up in my neighborhood from the county. We finally, after 3 years, got the culvert fixed next to my house. This has cost a lot of money. Mr. Davis spoke about the same thing, flooding in his house. Mr. Jones was able to arrange to get that done. We got to do things better. The government has got to be more nimble, more flexible, and we've got to cut the budget, period. That's all. Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm George Ingram, and I have two properties in town here, and I had one in Wellington for a while. My taxes have gone from, in my house, from $887 in 13 years ago to over $1,200 this year. And my building tax has gone from $1,600, a little over $1,600 when I bought it, to $4,600 this year. Yeah, ouch. And the property obviously has not gone up in value anywhere near 3 times. So what I'd like to talk about tonight, other than that complaining, is I lived in Pennsylvania before I came here. And 23 years ago, I came back to Utah. And I had lived in Colorado and Utah before. And it was a shock, a lot of shocks with different kinds. But what I didn't, one of the things that was happening in Pennsylvania that you might not be aware of, and it's really important to know, is that right now there are almost 30 towns that are bankrupt, and they're cities too, like Pittsburgh. I mean, you've heard of Pittsburgh, right? And East Pittsburgh, and Altoona, and a bunch of other large cities. And they did it because they raised the taxes. They made people leave their area and go somewhere else to work, even out of state. And a lot of it was the coal mining also, and was depressed for quite a while. But the main reason the towns needed more cash, so they would tax the people. They got to up around the 300% range, and people would just leave, abandon their homes. There are many towns, and I've got a list of them here if you'd like me to leave them with you. You can look them up, where you can go buy a house for under $10,000 because the taxes are $16,000 a year. And they just abandoned their homes. But you can buy property even for way less than that. I mean, for $1 actually. And you pay the taxes to live there. So I don't want that to happen here, and it will. And that's what I watched it happen. I'm 72 years old. I watched it for quite a while, and it was really depressing. I owned a property in Braddock County, or actually Braddock and Bedford County, and then also in another town south of there. But anyway, and I watched the tax prices go up. I had a very large property, and it was all woods, and I used it for hunting and had people hunt there. It was $600.30 a year the first year, and the property taxes when I sold it 5.5 years later were almost $13,000. So you tell me why I sold it. And you could get that much an acre for the trees. We had walnut, oak, and a whole bunch of trees, but we couldn't even get that to be passed to be able to fund ourselves to stay there. And we had to go through all the eco people, and it wasn't allowed. So anyway, I don't want it to happen here. And if you raise the taxes like this, I guarantee it. I watched it happen. A lot of people moved. A lot of people just lost their homes, and I don't want it to happen. I yield my 8 seconds.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm Amanda Godin. I live in the county, obviously. I don't understand, I do understand why you have to do this, but I feel like we're moving almost into like a mass exodus. like the gentleman who was in his 20s, you know, there's not going to be any 20, 30, 40-year-olds here because they can't afford, I can't afford to live here. And if we can't figure this out, you guys are going to have a much larger problem because you're going to have all these houses that we can't even sell, no matter how low we offer them for. You're going to have to maintain them because they're going to be on your budget when they're all empty. So I want a second, third, fourth, the privatization. We're going to have to maybe outsource in like animal control. We have that amazing gun range that not a whole lot of people are using. That might have to be sold, and other people can maintain it so that we can lose that, you know, all the money we're putting into it to maintain it and keep somebody out there working. And we do have great places we can go, but we can't afford all these neat second and third, you know, places we can go. I kind of have a little question. I don't think you can answer it, but on our homes with the appraisals, the only way we can fight it, or when you say our house is worth X amount, the only way we can fight it is with an appraisal. Zillow is way off. The only thing we can do is pay, you know, over $1,000 for an appraisal. Can we recoup that money from you? Every year I've had to do my home because you say it's worth so much more than what it is. It's landlocked. It's worth nothing. If I go pay $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 a year, can I come back and sue the county for that money when I prove my house is not properly appraised? I know you can't answer that right now. I'm hoping you can later, but because I've done it and won, and I don't want to have to keep paying every year for an appraisal. But thank you. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. One name left, Josh Nelson. Is he here? Okay. I think at this point we'll close this public hearing to comments unless someone else would like to come forward.
I just have one more thing that I'd like to bring up.
Okay.
Commissioners, it's certainly within your discretion to allow whoever you'd like to continue to talk, but if we're going to allow people who've already spoken to speak, probably need to make that short.
Okay.
Well, I would like to make one more comment, and I think everybody in this community can say this. We have a beautiful gun range. We have the university, or Utah State University Eastern, and we have the event center and everything else here. We need to bring events in here. What about concerts and gun range and things like that, that we could bring in events into this county and be bringing revenue in? What happened to when we used to have concerts, Jody Messina, and all these concerts that used to be bringing in here and bringing thousands of dollars into this county that would be bringing money, T-shirts, and all this stuff? What happened to all that? We have a gun range. What about shooting events and things that could be bringing in gun shows and shooting events? And how many of y'all go shooting? You can't tell me that y'all don't shoot and you can't outshoot some of these shooters that come in that can outshoot. You can't tell me that you can't outshoot somebody, you know, and all these other things that we could be bringing in revenue into this county and be doing things that could be. We all talk about this. Young man did bring up good points. There's nothing to do in Carbon County. We've all grown up here, and we all complained about that growing up. There's nothing to do in Carbon County.
Hey, Kim.
We all could be bringing in things to do in this county for our younger kids.
Hey, Kim. Kim. Hey, Kim. You'll be happy to know Colin Ray will be here in February, and Diamond Rio will be here in March.
Thank you.
And the gun range, we had 9,800 people so far this year go out there. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll close this public meeting now, and is there anything, Seth, that you'd like to follow up with from the clerk's?
One thing I would say is that I'd love to have any or all of you come down to our office in the next couple days, weeks, whatever. If you have questions, want to discuss the budget, options, whatever's on your mind, we'd love to hear from you again in our office. So thanks for being here.
I think there's one other thing that needs to be mentioned. There are, for those that are elderly, veterans, disabled, just an anecdotal thing. A few years ago, I had a gentleman come into my office, and he was pretty upset, and rightfully so. And we started out the conversation, have you been downstairs to see what tax relief is available to you? And I took him downstairs and worked with Lori and that office, and there was some tax relief available for that gentleman. So please, elderly, disabled, veterans, if you have any questions, please go down and visit with them. There are options to help those that are on fixed incomes with tax relief.
Commissioners, to end the meeting, I'd recommend you make a formal motion to adjourn when you're at that point, when you're ready to do that.
Okay. Tony, do you have anything to add? Okay. Moving forward from this point, there will be one more public hearing on December 18th, I believe. Is that right, Christian?
Yes.
At 6 p.m. A lot of the questions you have asked, I think we will try to address in the first part of that public hearing. And then we'll have an opportunity to hear from you one more time. We appreciate your input tonight. We appreciate your comments. They're good, and this is one of the things that we wrestled with, and it weighs very heavy on us. We know what it will do. We know what it'll do to you. So we also have family that lives here, and there's a lot of moving parts beyond the budget that are in play to try to ensure that when the power plants and the coal mines continue to shut down, that we're not left with no taxable income coming into the county from those types of industries. So I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.